Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tabletop. Today is a mailbag episode. That's right. We talked to all the folks in our Discord to try to come up with what are great questions that people have that we could answer on the podcast in a short form fashion. And here we are. So I'm your host, Nick, and I am joined by three of the best DMs in the biz. Let's go around. You all introduce yourselves.
I'll be second.
Okay. So you're second. Gotcha. Anyone else?
I guess third. Sorry, when second would imply that you came after Nick. But hi,
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, that's smart.
I'm Shade.
We're just four mailbags talking out of the mailbags. I'm Rio.
Now you're third.
Hey, it's Franco. What's up?
He went second. He said I'm second. He was the second one to talk.
That's true.
Counted.
It's really funny because when you were talking, I saw Rio kind of giggling for some reason, and I was wondering if it was because
Mailbag.
Because it was going smoothly like this intro.
No,
and then
I thought of the mailbag joke.
Yep, I 100% knew it was mailbag.
so bad.
As soon as, for
you
some
bleep it
reason,
out?
I just felt the...
I love whenever Rio
Guys are
has
12
this
years
sort of
old.
joke, I look at him and his eyes are watering and he's just like laughing with such a pure expression. I love it so much. All right, so we have lots of questions here. Why don't we start? Rio, do you want to take the first crack at the first one?
Can we?
The
pause really
first
quick?
question
What's up?
is, what has been your longest TTRPG dry spell, and what was the context behind it? You've talked a little bit about yours recently, Rio, so do you want to kick us off, and then we can all kind of think about
Oh,
ours?
yeah, sure. Just remind me what I was talking about.
What you were talking about?
My dry spell.
Just about how the campaign that you weren't running, or you were running, didn't land the way you wanted, and you were looking for
I guess my latest dry spell has
Wait,
been
is that not your longest?
my longest, I guess, would have been when I came to Boston.
Moving,
there's like that first year or two, I didn't have a group until I talked Franco into playing. He's like, I don't want to do it, and I was like, Franco, you want to do this? And now he does.
Now I'm on a podcast.
And
I'm on a podcast about it.
it.
But I guess last year I was having like a big struggle because like nothing was working the way I wanted it to work.
Yeah.
I had aimed for the stars, and I did not land among the moons.
Incredible.
That was like the weird time travel-esque one where it's like, oh, the world ended, but everyone's gone back to 3 days before that happened.
Yeah. Very
And
much
then we
Rose
went
Mask.
through that first arc, which was just hobbling along, but we got through it, and then we got to the second arc, and it was still, no one knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Everyone was just kind of, and also it was 8 people online.
That's
People
tough.
weren't really like paying attention when it wasn't like their scene, which means there's a lot of stuff that was like the players needed to know in the background, even if their characters didn't know it, and it was just really hard to convey.
Yeah.
And so all of the stress, and then I think I was also dealing with work drama at the time
you
too.
were.
So I was like, I'm going to take a break.
Yeah.
And I just last week started playing again.
Yeah.
So I think that was like 6 months of not playing any.
How'd it
ongoing.
feel?
I was bored, man.
I was bored, man.
I realized I don't see my friends unless there's a dice involved. So that was nice. I saw y'all.
Perhaps
a
that's
lot.
something that we should examine. First.
Yeah. Perhaps
Start hanging
we
out.
should
You know, just
hang up our dice.
not have to. Yeah, hang up our dice.
Have a weekly dinner.
Yeah.
No, we would play games.
Yeah, I remember the first time we all started hanging out, and then the first time we like came to a party or something together. There was definitely not going to be any games. We had just all like looked at each other and we were like, I really want to play D&D right now.
Yeah.
Just because we were around each other.
Yeah.
How are we not doing this?
We're poisoned.
As well as poison.
The party has come together. Swords must be drawn.
So did you learn anything in your little dry spell?
Why would I
or-
learn things?
I was just why would I learn things?
I learned a lot of other rule systems because I did a lot of reading of other stuff that was not D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Did
there's
you
just a
did you
lot
get some of your
fun
like
things.
because I find a lot of times that I have this sort of inspiration, and then when the inspiration is not there, it's so hard for me to design modules or games or like write stuff for sessions. Did you find that just like reading widely on TTRPG systems and all that kind of stuff, taking a break, did you find you got some of the spark back? Or
Yeah, because like one of the things I really got to focus on was like just my sort of like environmentalist vibes. Like, oh, I'm going to build a world, but I only want to talk about the world via predators, herbivores, the plant life,
Right.
and not worry about motivations,
Politics?
characters,
Yeah.
politics.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was like, I want to just build a world.
Like systems.
I want my Garden of Eden era.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fun.
I'll keep Adam and Eve back in the pocket until I'm ready to ruin everything.
to blight the world.
The
Yeah.
Adams and Eves and Steves and Liliths will be the players.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll
Love
fuck
that.
my shit up.
What about you guys? Did you ever take a long break?
I don't think so, actually. Not
Yeah.
when I started playing. Probably my longest breaks are just like in the wintertime when all of my players are like scattered to the winds.
Yeah.
And then like only recently have we kind of picked everything back up.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the winter is just like the
It's hard.
worst time
Yeah.
to play.
Yeah. What about you, Shade?
I was trying. So it's like 2 years, probably. I'd say because I did a little bit.
Time upstate.
Yeah, I did a little time upstate.
Oh yeah, you know, there's like this really cool company that puts together like adventure modules for prisoners.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I forget what it's called. I'll find it and put it in the Discord. But
Cool.
but yeah, they have like replacements as well for dice, like little wheels and stuff.
Yep.
Just, like spinners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because they can't have dice in
Right.
prison.
Yeah.
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 Makes sense.
Because of the gambling.
Yes.
No, it is. It is. It just.
It's wild.
I'm mirthlessly scoffing at just
No,
the.
you can't have any fun in prison.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
At
Like,
the,
why can't we gamble?
Yeah.
Hey man, I mean,
cares?
and definitely everyone in prison is supposed to be there. Anyway,
Shay doesn't believe that. He's being sarcastic.
yes, yeah.
Just
if,
to be
if
clear,
that did
just to
not
be clear.
carry through,
I don't know if it was obvious or not.
yeah, no. I'm sorry if that did
There are a
not
lot of
carry
visual
through.
cues.
I am very. I'm just keeping bubbling. You know. Anyway, so yeah, 2 years I would say. It was between like I did a little bit of D&D in college. Didn't really have a chance to do it in high school. Like I did a lot of CRPGs for a very long time. Moved to Boston. Had a sort of like Firefly game. You remember the old TV show Firefly?
Yeah.
Never
That
heard of it.
was pretty fun. We had a little game going a little bit, and then
There was an RPG for it.
yeah, I couldn't tell you much about it anymore, but it was there. It may have been a GURPS system, honestly. And yeah, that would probably be 2010, 2011. So 2014, I picked back up when 5e came in.
Yeah.
And swinging in. So maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
Wasn't anything other than just being extraordinarily, like even more busy than I have been since the time you've all known me. So
To the listener,
Yeah.
that is an extreme amount of
yeah, it's
busyness.
very busy. I was working like 5 jobs at separate, like every corner of the city,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So yeah, it's cool.
Heard of the busy world of Richard Busy? He's even busier.
That's, I don't think anyone's as busy as Richard Busy.
It's in the name. Yeah, I was trying to think of mine.
You were listening to Shade?
I was, but I'm a complex being
It's called
that can think
active
of two
listening,
things.
and
Yeah.
it really helps your social meters fill.
Yeah, you're right. But I was thinking about this during that long, boring thing Shade was
Yeah.
doing.
He was just talking about 5th edition again. It's
And he got
fine.
off on a tangent about prison.
I checked out because I've done my time. No, but I was thinking I don't think I've ever had super long absences. Because Rio, you were my first GM. So you all have
welcome.
seen all of my, except for you, Franco, who wasn't in that first campaign.
Yeah,
until
I'm in a similar
halfway.
situation to you
Yeah.
too, though.
But like I've been off of campaigns and stuff when I was doing shows. I would like be gone for 2 months or whatever, and then I'd come back in. And that was just because shows in Boston rehearse evenings every day, essentially. But now that I haven't been doing shows, I have had more time. But I've also this summer been winter have been it's been hard for me to sit down at a computer and just play games. I don't know why. So I've been doing Cyberpunk. But yeah, it's a weird thing. Because there's a couple of in-person games I'm doing now with just random folks, but the online stuff has been harder for me. It was so good during the pandemic. Like I felt like it was totally fine. And then lately I've just been having such a hard time. And I think it's because I work on a computer all day.
Yeah, I had to bite my tongue because I was gonna say like a lot of things were great during the pandemic, but there are a lot of bad things too. So
I didn't like it.
Oh yeah,
already. But I mean, most of my longest campaign. I don't know. I guess my current campaign is my longest campaign actually now. But most of the 13 Islands campaign was pandemic. And online, and that was fine.
Yeah.
I don't think. Oh yeah, the finale was in person.
Yes.
That was the only time we played in person.
Yeah.
Well, apart from you guys,
from like when we were a smaller group.
That was weird time. I want to start more games, but I am also like really busy. I was trying to start my open table campaign, but that has been really hard to get off the ground. Just because it's hard to schedule people, and then also like. I think I want to try to do a different approach. I might just start with some like one shots or something instead to like be more specific about what we're going to do. But
the thing for me is that I found out that my limit is 2 active games because that's basically 1 day a week because of bi-weekly sort of thing. And I think that works for me for now, but it's so limiting when it comes to wanting to try out new games. So it's just like so hard.
Both of those are 5e games, right?
One of them's 5e. One of them is Mnemosyne, which is Mac's game.
That's right.
Yeah, and now I am going to be GMing the next round of that.
Wait, is that something that we were going to play? I forget. Did you want to run it?
I would love to. I would love to run it for you guys.
He has to get rid of one of the other groups first.
Yeah, I have to kill the other groups first. No, the big thing for Mnemosyne is that I would have to talk to Mac about printing out all the cards and stuff because it's like proprietary material. So we just
steal it corporate espionage.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he would probably want to be here just to listen to how the games go for playtesting purposes. Yeah, exactly.
As an imaginary friend, I believe he's always here.
Yeah, he's always with us. The Father, the Son, and the Mac. Yeah.
The Son and the Mac. All right. Mac and me.
Yeah, Mac and me. But yeah, I've been enjoying my time there. But like Franco, I want to try so many other games, and I just don't think that's going to happen because you can either have a really fulfilling long-term campaign or you can be trying lots of systems.
I guess. I don't know.
You can.
It's just like dating.
Yeah, great. But yeah, I think that I'm down to be part of any of the one-shots you guys do because I would love to do that.
I think there's like a real like romanticization sometimes in the culture about like the big campaign, like the grand campaign and stuff like that. I think that can really build things up for people and make it difficult to just try things out.
Yeah.
And then like even like GMs will do that type of thing. I don't just mean like us. Yeah. Like I think like Waterdeep is very cool because it is very like a drop in, drop out type of thing.
Yeah. Too. Whatever you want.
And yeah. But I know Rio loves a big epic. And I mean like Argot was kind of big and had a storyline and stuff, but
I think we all love a big epic, but you really need the time and commitment, and it's difficult. Like, and I think that obviously as a person gets older, things become more complex in some respects. More and more commitments as you leave your 20s and into your 30s and 40s and such. But I also just think that the world has gotten a little more unpleasant overall and draining.
I was gonna say demanding.
Demanding. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Over the last,
right now, I got laid off in the layoff war of 2024, and I'm like have a gig and I have to do all this other stuff to stay afloat. It's like I don't have just the one steady schedule. I have to keep track of like 3 different things.
That's the biggest lie about unemployment is everyone's like, oh, I'm so
fun employment, right?
Fun employment, hanging out. What are you watching? It's like I actually apply for about 100 jobs a day, or whatever it is,
and do whatever gigs I can for cash because there's no money.
Yeah, no money.
I'm watching my blood pressure go up.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm watching.
Okay, yeah, I think that we nailed that. I think that for me, when
so if you're not playing, the dry spells are due to depression.
No, I was sorry. I was gonna say something else. The thing that you were saying, Shade, about. Oh yeah, I think like a lot of times, at least for my game for like Argot, I felt like the sort of the grand narrative of it kind of happened over time, and so I think sometimes I have seen like newer DMs kind of just go in and be like, hey, this can be like a big epic thing or whatever. Sure. I think that just really like, it's like, I think it's nicer to start small and then just be like, okay, this is going well. Let me start folding in some like big epic shit.
You have to do the save the kitten,
Yeah,
and then you build up to killing God.
And then save Princess Kitten, and then kill God Kitten, God of all kittens.
Okay.
But the thing that I was thinking about recently during sort of my break is that I think that I enjoy that grand narrative stuff. I agree. I love that stuff of like, okay, we're going to save the world. This is a long-term commitment. Everyone is in, and we're in. However, I've been really enjoying.
I can really only save the world on Thursdays.
yeah. So if we could keep those open. But what I've really been enjoying lately, and sort of have been trying to DM in that direction, is the world. It's so hard for 2 to 8 people to save the world in reality, even if you're all these crazy powerful mages, because there's lots of crazy powerful people in the world. So I really enjoy these stories where it's like you're operating within a system, maybe you're making a change or a lasting impact. However, you're not changing the entire world structure. You're still sort of bound to it in a way that makes your life both harder and easier in different ways.
Street level heroes versus the Fantastic Four Avengers teams.
Right. I just think that I've been really enjoying living in that level of heroism, I guess.
I think that's fun, and it's more. I feel like it's like understandable for people like on like a more visceral level. Than like
it's more relatable, I guess.
Yeah,
because it's like, what would I do if a giant butterfly monster was going to hypnoptize the entire world? I have no idea, but I also know that if down the street my neighbor got kidnapped.
Confusion.
Yeah.
I think I'm interested in Mythic Bastionland kind of for that reason, because it is interesting. So the game kind of works in ages. Like you can after after some time you roll on some tables and stuff, and then it progresses to the next age, and then you become you start as a squire, and then you're oh, now you're a young knight, and now you're an old knight, and then you die, and then it's in between those sort of big quests that you go on, things can change and things can move around or whatever. And so I think it'd be interesting to play something like that where you're making small changes to the system, and then you can see how that rolls up the next time you start playing again. I think that could be cool to do some a legacy campaign.
Yeah, I love that. There's a video game that used to do something like that. It's Darkest Dungeon or something, that when you die, your son or daughter would take up arms and try to go.
They're called roguelites, generally speaking.
But this one actually had a family history. If your character had a specific genetic trait, it might get passed down.
Was this the one that was kind of like a 2D side-scrolling?
Yeah, I think so.
It was not Darkest Dungeon. Oh man, I'm
Descent into Dungeon.
I just lost the name.
I'm sorry.
I played the hell out of it back in 2009.
Well, speaking of other systems, our next question is from one of our newer listeners saying, "What's everyone been playing lately?" So you were just talking about Mythic Bastionlands, of something you want to play. Yeah,
I want to play.
That's what I said. Yeah.
TTRPGs.
Yeah.
Just this bullshit ass 5e shit every fucking day. Oh, we started. Rio's starting a new game.
I started a Wilder Feast campaign, and I'm running a Fallout. Game sporadically. One's a weekly, one's just sporadically.
Can you talk about the first system? Because I wasn't.
Wilder Feast.
Yeah. So what kind of system is it? What is it?
So that's a
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a dice pool game.
Is it D20s or D6s?
It's a D6 pool, but you have a D8 and a D20 to sort of offset certain things.
Yeah.
And it's more focused on exploration and team building than as Frank was just saying, there's no big arcing narrative. There's a monster. It's suffering from the frenzy. We have to go hunt it.
Yeah. That's very cool.
And it's you're hunting these monsters, but you're also hey, some monsters are your friends. You have to go hunt the ones that the frenzy has taken, so that it doesn't spread. And you're kind of we have to do this for conservation purposes.
That's cool.
Just preventing rabies.
And then if you eat what you kill, you get mutations and new powers.
Yeah.
Rabies being one of the traits that you can take. It makes you stronger, quicker, but you do die at the end of the next session.
You're definitely afraid of water for a little bit too.
Oh man, maybe I have rabies.
I'm gonna go get you water.
Shay, have you been playing anything else?
New systems. I mean, gosh, I guess. I mean, I'm in that Wilderfeast game as well. I'm trying to think.
I thought we were talking about all our new systems. We're all playing the same new system.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we did your Knave hack, but I think we've talked about that a little bit.
We played Karen.
Karen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for Last Hunting of the Boar, we ran Karen.
Oh, that's right. I have such a terrible memory. I was looking at podcasts today, and one of them was Between Two Karens. I was like, Karens, why does that sound familiar to me? Because it's the game you always talk about. Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't. It was in my head as the connection, but yet I couldn't bring it up to the forefront.
Between Two Karens is a podcast hosted by the creator of Karen and Brad Kerr and Sam and Millie now, which is cool.
It's the rabies. It's really doing a thing.
It's really good. They do reviews of modules, exclusively like indie modules, not any WotC bullshit.
That's cool.
So it's very good.
Yeah,
highly recommend.
I just talked to some of the folks who designed the Star Trek Adventures, the version 2 that just dropped. It's like one of the bigger TTRPG systems. It's sort of the Asmodee or someone. I have to look up what the parent company is, but they have a proprietary system, which is basically like this Fallout system is that system. And they were mentioning one that they're developing right now called Sentience, I think, and it's about robots who kind of like in WALL-E. Oh, here we go. Thank you. Modiphius. There it is. That their proprietary system, but in that system as well, this guy is making a game called Sentience, where you are a bunch of robots that are on Earth, essentially in a WALL-E situation where the humans have left. And you are with a bunch of other robots, and you are gaining sentience. And so all of your stats are emotions. And so anytime you're like, okay, you see this animal about to fall off the cliff, what are you going to do? And you're like, I'm going to run over and save it. It's like, okay, what emotion is driving you to do this?
What was that movie that just came out about the robot that was gaining sentience?
The Wild Robot?
Yeah, the Wild Robot.
Yeah, it's very so Wild cute. Robot.
Oh, yeah, I want to play that TTRPG. Yeah.
It's very cool because it's like you could play it as like fear. I'm fearing for this thing's life, and so you roll on your emotions, and you're like more familiar with fear, maybe, and that's the way you play it. But you could also be like, I'm doing this out of a sense of pride because I see all these other people watching, and I want to prove that I am a good robot or whatever. And so you basically, the thing I really like about that system and the idea behind it is that you have to role play first and say, like, essentially, I want to do this thing. What is driving me? And that's the mechanic, right? And so it helps people sort of get into their character.
The monkeys with typewriters in my brains are writing an RPG for Inside Out, where the party all gets to be a different emotion, and you're all trying to control this one person.
That'd be really fun.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of games that do that type of thing.
Yeah.
Bluebeard's Bride, I think, is the game. It's like you're all different aspects of Bluebeard's Bride.
Okay.
Do you guys know the story of Bluebeard?
No.
He just marries women and locks them and like murders them and locks them in the thing or whatever. And
cool.
He's just like a big like serial killer or whatever.
Yeah.
And so and then the Bluebeard story is like basically his last wife, and she like defeats him, or sometimes she gets killed by him. It depends. It's a fairy tale. And so you're playing like different aspects of her personality.
That's cool. Very Disco Elysium.
Yeah.
Yep. Love that. All right. So our next question is tips and tricks for running horror in 5e or Pathfinder. We've talked about this before, but I think it's like, let's just all run through some of the top level things. Like one is make a clock, because nothing is scarier than a dwindling resource that they have to operate within.
Yeah. 2 could be use Bluebeard, because what the fuck? He was a serial killer fairy tale? What is that about?
Yeah, you've never heard of this?
No.
Most fairy tales are like serial killer, murder, crazy
don't be
shit.
Too surprised. Yeah. Fairy tales are
like
fucked up.
Even the Hansel and Gretel is like, she eats children and then they kill her. So it's pretty
I'm
bad.
only seen like a cartoonified version, so I've never really had to deal with the reality of it.
Yeah.
Okay, 3. Just keep them at first level,
low power.
Yeah, low power.
Very, very low power, or play something totally different.
Yeah. I mean, a different system is great for horror. can't recommend 10 Candles enough. So fun.
Mm-hmm.
Dread was a lot of fun in my experience, but
Dread.
we were doing something very into with it, but still fun. And I think we'll
Remind me what was Dread?
It's the Jenga one.
Oh yeah.
And then I will say, if you really are committed to a 5e or Pathfinder, do pick up Curse of Strahd and Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. Van Richten's Guide is really cool and is great for inspiration, but both of those are going to explain to you that in addition to limiting their level, you need to be limiting what their spells and also reflavoring what their spells and things like that can do.
Oh, I have a pitch.
Setting atmosphere is very important.
So the actual Tomb of Horrors, which I guess you could call a horror campaign.
Yeah,
it's just designed to be a meat grinder. Yeah. But since some people in this room like Dark Souls, well, you made a game where everyone starts off at 10th level. Well, there's a lot of stuff that kills you, but every time you die, you have to make another character at one level lower.
I've talked about this of like a de-leveling mechanic with death, which I think is fun. So I'm
into it.
Yeah.
So eventually, you just have a bunch of first level characters like, we keep dying.
But you're getting further in the dungeon, so it's harder. Yeah.
You know what? And I am gonna say the new, not 5e, but the whatever D&D is
2024 rules.
Yeah. All of that. Those
it's the
fucking
easiest thing to say.
Yeah.
Those fucking monsters in the Monster Manual, which just came out this year.
Now?
Oh my god, they're terrifying. Like, there are so many monsters. I genuinely do not think that our full party of level 20 characters would necessarily win against some of these.
Yeah.
Like,
prove it.
I will do that the next time we do Ico Nights. I will I will board wipe us.
Well, one last thing that I think is super important for these campaigns is to decide whether you're trying to scare the players or you're trying to scare the characters. If you want to play in a genre that is a horror genre, then you're trying to scare the characters. And that means that you don't have to do all this hard work of trying to like jump scare your players, which is just not really feasible at a table unless you have a baking sheet, which Shade scared us with once. That was really great.
To put onto that, if you're also going to do a horror campaign, the players have to be invested in doing the horror campaign, because a lot of time players will be like, but I'm the hero, I don't get scared. No, you have to be willing to go and play as a person who's weak and scared.
Yeah, I want to give an anti-recommendation for everything that Shade said about Curse of Strahd and Van Richten's Guide. I would recommend, if you're curious about this stuff, start somewhere totally different. Botsy doesn't need more of your money. But also, I mean, I guess
it was in the context of if you're really committed to 5e and Pathfinder. But
I guess if you're really committed to 5e and Pathfinder, I would recommend just finding some other modules and stuff that other people have made, because they could be better. You know, especially if it could be like shorter things as well, because like Curse of Strahd can be a really big commitment. I wish I had examples for you, but honestly, like you could probably just grab some totally different systems, whatever, like an OSC module, or there's you could probably, I was gonna say Gradient Descent, but that is Mothership.
What about the whatever, the Worm God?
Reach of the
Roach God.
Reach of the Roach God.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty scary.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. That is very good. It might be hard to find, but I highly recommend that book. I really want to run a game in that. But that is actually completely system agnostic. So yeah, you could put 5e characters in that.
One last thing I want to say about this specifically is that horror is a game of delaying rather than stopping. So like if you have monsters in your home brewing or whatever, make it so that they don't have the capability of fully destroying this monster or whatever it is. Make it so that they are constantly just trying to delay what feels like the inevitable, because that's where horror comes from. That's the sort of feeling of like I'm surrounded and I'm slowly being penned in. That I think that is what you can kind of provide as in a TTRPG as a GM. And remember that you're controlling the camera, so make sure that you focus it on spooky stuff.
You know what I hate? Whenever you're watching a show and like something just pops up because it's like, I have the camera and you can't see this thing. It's like everyone would have heard you walk into that room. It's not scary.
Yeah.
It's just bad cinematography.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. I think this is the last question for this mailbag. Let's check. As a GM...
What about the other 3 mailbags?
As a GM, do you like running games with collaborative world building, or do you prefer to write most of the setting yourself? We've talked about this a couple times. I think that we can answer this. We all have different opinions on it. I'm super into collaborating. Rio is not.
I don't like it when people don't have the right ideas.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Okay, that's one way to say that.
For me, I'm just constantly like, this is a general setting, and you make it up as we go, so that I don't have to do all of the decision making. So,
I'm into people bringing their own stuff to the table. I like the idea even of like making like world building together and then playing in that world, and that feels like maybe it'll. I think if you want to try that out, I think I would recommend doing that because it might take some of the pressure off of like feeling like you have to build everything, Rio.
Yeah. What about you, Shade?
I'm good with it. I do think that it's perfectly fine. Like if you're in a setting and someone says, "Oh yeah, we are in the Forgotten Realms, for example," and you're like, right, and so I'm a life cleric. My god is Jesus. No, it's not. No, your god is not Jesus. You're in the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
If you want an Earth god, to do tier or something like that. There's it's.
Or we can play that the Bible.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, exactly.
But man, I was listening to a great breakdown of the Bible the other day, and I was like, they really should have kept the reveal that he's the Son of God till the end of the book.
It would have been
interesting. They put it right there in the middle, and it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do for like 18 more books of the Bible.
Anyway, I do think that like I love collaborative storytelling, but collaborative means that that it's a push, it's a give and take.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
You can't just immediately say like, oh yeah, yep, absolutely, that's what happens.
Yeah, collaborative storytelling, great. World building, no?
Yeah, because they said world building specifically.
Oh, I'm
right?
sorry. Yeah. Collaborative world building, though, I'm
but
also
I mean,
into.
Like saying like Jesus.
Yeah, like
that's world building.
Yeah, that's world building. Yeah.
I want this world to have Jesus. Okay.
I mean, I may figure out a moment, but we're gonna have to figure that out together right now, and I'd prefer that you didn't.
Yeah. Also, they never follow up on the carpentry storyline. It's like it's in there and then it gets thrown away.
Are you kidding? One of the last things that happens is.
Anyway, that was our mailbag. Everybody, I hope that was useful. If you want to send in your questions to Tabletop, you can go to tabletopppod.com and there's a contact sheet. Send it in. We read them all. You can also go to patreon.com/tabletop where you can get some free episodes of our bonus podcast, Wild Magic, and also stuff like Franco and I's module and some other stuff that we've put out there. Very, very cool stuff. You can join for free. All right, everyone, we will see you next week for more TTRPG talks. All right, bye.
Bye.